Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome to Just Go With The Flow. Today we are going to be setting up our 5-gallon bucket compost. We used to do compost back in San Diego. Did a little bit different. We had a big hot compost pile that we used to throw in all our scraps, the grass that we mow from our backyard. We used to throw all that in there and get compost, which is great for the garden. But here we don't have the same circumstances, so we have to do a little different. And we figured that this will be great. It's small, it's compact, we can put it somewhere in a corner and we'll still be able to use our food scraps and create soil for our container garden. So what is composting? Composting is basically decomposing organic matter and using it back in your garden. Stuff we eat, like the fruit, the vegetables we eat, the salad, like all that are plants that came from the ground, so it naturally wants to go back to that, right? Basically composting is just taking all that organic matter, and instead of throwing it in the trash, it's gonna go in a landfill and stink up the area, you just help it start decomposing and just use it back to grow more of that produce that you eat. So it's a win-win. You know, you help the planet, you lower your carbon imprint, and it also helps your garden. So why not do it, right? There are basically two ways of composting. You have the aerobic composting and the anaerobic composting. Aerobic composting means you need oxygen for it to work and decompose the organic matter that you'll be putting in. Anaerobic composting means absence of oxygen. So those are the two basic ways that you can compost. An example of anaerobic composting will be bokashi composting, which we have not done. We'll want to try sometime, but we are going to do aerobic composting here, which means we need air. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drill holes all over this bucket. The oxygen is going to be coming in to help all decompose, and then we're going to be putting all the material that we need for the composting process. What material I'm talking about? Well, you basically need browns, greens, you need moisture, and it helps to have something that activates the compost. What are browns? Well, browns is anything like dried leaves, cardboard, coffee grounds. Like right here I have, this bin is actually a mixture of browns and greens. The greens are a little dry, so once the greens dry up, you can consider it as browns. But I have leaves, dried up stuff from the garden. I basically go around the garden, the backyard, and pick up weeds. You usually wouldn't want to put weeds in a small compost like this, because if you put it in a bigger compost, the heat of the compost will kill the weeds and it wouldn't like spread. We're in the desert, so we don't have the luxury to pick and choose what you're putting in your compost, because we don't have that much organic material laying around, like say in upstate New York, you have trees everywhere, grass. Here you don't have that. So I'm gonna take the chance and put weeds in my compost, and if I have to pick up some weeds off the plants later on, I'll have to. But the material that you put in there is what's gonna help it decompose and actually create this compost that you're gonna be using. So I'm just gonna make sure that I don't put anything there that's not dry that could like become a problem. But like I said, browns is basically anything dry. So this is an example, leaves. Another example of browns is cardboard. So I have this egg container here, which is cardboard. Boxes, I have a bunch of boxes. The one thing you want to do is you want to cut it pretty small, That way helps accelerate the composting process, the breakdown process of it. So what I do is I just take a pair of scissors and cut it in tiny pieces and use it as raw materials. If I had a tree and had dry leaves, you wouldn't have to worry about cutting this, but we don't have that here. So I'm gonna put a bunch of cardboard in there. So that's for browns. Oh, coffee grounds. When you drink your coffee in the morning, instead of putting the coffee in the coffee grounds in the trash, just put them in a container and you can totally use them for your compost. It doesn't only add like nutrients to your compost, it also helps with the drainage and how like your soil structure is. So it's a really good thing. Some of the brown materials that you could put in the compost is all dirt. This is all indoor potting that I uppotted my indoor plants. So this is all dirt that I'm not gonna use to pot anything else in. So this I'm gonna use as brown material too. It's just basically dirt. That's for browns. Now greens. Any food scraps in your kitchen, veggies, fruits, anything like that you can put. Like I have it covered because of the flies. Here I have garlic skins, avocado peels, eggshells. The eggshells, you want to like break them down. That way, again, it helps accelerating the process of breaking down and becoming compost. This is asparagus ends. I prune my my green onions. I have them outside in a mason jar so they can keep growing. So all those stubs that I cut, put them here, green material. Also, this I'm not gonna open because it's kind of gross. It's been here for a little bit. But here I have more asparagus tubs, like any vegetable scrap, onion skins, more eggshells. So all this is gonna go in the compost bin as the greens. You can also put in there cuttings from your garden when you're pruning your tomatoes. Like here, like I said, I mix it up, but when I prune my tomatoes after I plant them, instead of throwing the little branches out, I put them in my bin. That way I can add it to the compost. You need the browns, the greens, and then you need to add some moisture. So you do a layer of browns, which is the leaves, the coffee grounds, the cardboard, the old dirt. Then you put all your greens, food scraps, eggshells, all that stuff. Then you do another layer of browns on top, and then you want to add something to start the process of decomposition, which is some type of bacteria. I'm just gonna go ahead and add some of the mushroom compost that we used to mix into our potting soil. That's already composted, so it already had all the organisms that the compost will need to be active. So I'm gonna add that and cover it. That's basically it. And you just put it in a place that doesn't get direct lights from the sun. You don't want it to get super hot. And then you just have to make sure that it has the right amount of moisture, which you don't want it soaking wet, just like a little bit. And after a few weeks, you're gonna see the process of decomposition starting. You want to like move it a little bit, like turn it. So if it's not too full, you can basically take it and like shake it or open it and move it with a shovel. But yeah, that's basically it. It's really a pretty easy process that gives back a lot. Like I said, you're like limiting the amount of stuff that you send to the landfill, and you're using that to grow your own food. So I totally recommend you to compost and take advantage of that. So I'm going to be showing you guys the process, and I'll be back when it's done. I drill holes all over it, the top, the sides, the bottom. We got these slits that are like easier to take out, not like the basic ones that go over and you have to struggle taking them off. I'm planning on like adding more material as we cook, and we need to add some stuff, so I'm trying to make it easier for us. Make sure you get out all the little plastic from the drilling. So we'll do it here for now. That way you don't get that plastic in your compost. And there you have it. This is where we're gonna put all our organic material. So yeah, I'm gonna do that now. So here is my first layer of browns. I added a layer of the old soil, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add the food scraps. Okay, so here you have it. I did the one layer of browns, then I put my food scraps and all the green stuff that I had, and then I did another layer of brown. I cut cardboard in little pieces, put a little layer of the oil soil I have, which I put a little more. And the last thing, I'm going to add a little bit of compost. This is mushroom compost that we got at the store. So I'm gonna add this just to help it kickstart the process of decomposing, because of all the organism and bacteria that we'll be adding with this. Not a lot, just a little bit, a little layer to cover it up. And here it is. The last thing we have to do is give it a little bit of moisture. I'm gonna water it a lot because the food scraps that I added had a bit of moisture, but I want at least the top layer to also soak a little bit, so I'm gonna do that. Alright, so here it is. The finished product. Now I'm just going to put the lid on. Oops, before I flicked everything in my face. And seal it. and I'm going to put it somewhere that doesn't get too much sunlight, probably under this table. And that's it. I'm gonna check it out in a couple of weeks and give you guys updates of the progress of this compost. We'll see how it works. Like I said, we're gonna probably be adding more scraps as we go, and any other like raw material. A few things: if you see way too many bugs around, because you're gonna get some bugs, they do help the process of decomposition of the organic material. Just cut back on the water and add a little more brown. Here it's pretty dry, so it's probably not gonna stay that moist, but that's a trick that you can always do if you're seeing that it's attracting way too many bugs. And always try to keep a good balance of the browns and the greens, and it should just do this thing. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check back in a couple of weeks if you want to see how this is doing. Have a good day.